Oh wait, today got weak. I think turned off.
Be there the whole time, but he needed to like rip a piss or
Okay,
something, so he needed to go.
I got
And he
back
runs
on.
back over. He's
Whoever
like,
you're
"Give that back to
listening
me."
to
He like
or
snatches it out of the
you,
emo kid's hand. He's
it's
like,
common folks are like
sorry for the interruption, guys."
listening to
Turns the
his
music back
videos.
on. Like starts like
Well, I'm doing
cursing out this kid.
creative
He's a middle schooler, but being like, "Dude,
things or
what do you think you're
whatever you
doing? You
want to
can't just like
say.
come up here and take this stuff. If you do this again, I'm gonna tell your teachers and you'll be in big trouble." Or
So now
I
let's
don't know how much trouble
see. Oh yeah,
a hired DJ can get
this
you
is
in,
gonna
but
be a
you know, the emo kid
series.
returns to his corner and literally just
Every
sits
Sunday,
down,
I'm gonna
just
be
slumps into the
building
corner of the
this
room,
game.
which
Or,
James
well,
felt
not really
kind of
game,
bad.
but
He felt a little bit bad because, like, James has
this
definitely been
world
in that
of a
position.
game.
I say that very kind of liberally because James has not actually been in a position where he grabs the microphone at
But
the school
first, I do
dance and
want to do
stops the
something.
music and asks the girl out unsuccessfully. He hasn't specifically been there, but he's definitely been in a situation where it just hasn't gone his way. So he feels bad, man. You know, it feels bad, man. You hate to
I
see
want
it.
to make something
But
that is
anyways,
actually
James
really
like continued on with the
special.
slow. I mean, he's not gonna stop his life because this kid has an unlucky moment. Like that's tough. So, yeah, you know, while I will say there was kind of an awkward moment because while like James was like slow dancing with Kate, he kind of like turns around, like they kind of like turn around so James is facing the emo kid, and he just looks up, and the emo kid is staring at him with like the creepiest, most stalkerish, most scariest stare he's ever seen. Because the emo kid is slumped over like the girl from The Ring, right, and is just like staring right at
Let's
him.
try to
He's like
find
long black hair, like covering most of his
I think
face
it's
besides
this
his
one.
eyes. And he's like slumped over too. Like kind of like crouching over like an old guy with a cane or something, but without a cane. And James is like, "Hey, do you mind if we turn like 45 degrees this way or 90 degrees this way?" "Ah, thank you. That's much better." So he doesn't have to see him anymore. Or actually, let's do a whole 180. I mean, he didn't ask for a 180 because he didn't want like Kate to be making eye contact with him either. But yeah, so that was a bit of a tough situation. However, you might be thinking, well, I mean, at this point, reasonably, the emo kid must have realized that this just wasn't his day, and he must have just like given up. Which he's already, I mean, he's already embarrassed himself. Like he probably gave up after this point. And
There we
while that
go.
would be pretty fair for you to believe, that was unfortunately not the. That was just not what happened because the emo kid would continue. Let me just say that the emo kid thought that if he had a sword fight with James, that he would be able to win the honor of his lady. I'm not even kidding you. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment emo down below. That'll be the secret word of the day. I will try and heart as many of those comments as I possibly can. And also, if you want to support the channel, the best possible thing you can do is just watch this video throughout the entirety of this video, and then afterwards, if you could watch some of my old videos, that helps more than you can ever imagine. And please go in the comment section and tell me how many of my old videos you watched today or this week. I'll heart it and say thank you because it helps me out more than
So
you can
we are
ever
going
imagine.
to
Anyways,
be building
let's get back to the
this.
story because the
This
emo
is
kid
gonna
is
be
not done.
for
In fact, he
my
is far from being done. So what happened after
I'm
the
not
school
gonna say
dance? Like over the
helpfuls, but
weekend,
I'm also
James
gonna
actually
say
met up with
helpfuls.
Kate. They went to like
Just
go
people
get dinner
that
together, and that's when they officially
I want
started
to
dating.
like
Whatever
say.
that means in 8th grade, which means oh my god, they're gonna sit together at lunch. Oh my god, dude, that's crazy, right? But anyway, so James officially starts dating this girl. Word gets around really quickly, and eventually the emo kid. I'm pretty sure at this point the emo kid would have known, but by his next actions, it's not super
Let's try
clear.
to find.
So that Monday is the first kind of like lunch day that Kate and what's his name, James, are going to be having their first real at school lunch date, which is a pretty big deal for the 8th graders there. Obviously, it's not that big of a deal in general, but hey, man, let them have their fun. And so, yeah, he sits down, like he finds Kate, they sit down, and they're at a table by themselves.
Let's try
and
to
like
find
people are looking
different
over and
type.
talking and be like, ooh, someone's dating, whatever, right? And however, James, you know, Kate is facing away from the door, but James is facing the door. And James sees the door open up, and he sees the emo kid walk in. And James is like, this is tough. Because James feels bad. He legitimately feels bad because, I mean, if the roles were reversed, he would feel bad, like seeing the girl that he really liked a week ago sitting with the guy who was low-key his like enemy rival.
There we go.
On a date. Like that would be tough to see.
We got that.
And James started to feel a little bit worried when the emo kid
now we need to get
starts to approach him, right? Starts to approach him, and yeah, so the emo kid walks up to their table. And at this point, Kate also
Yeah,
realizes
I also
that
put
someone's
Mark
walking
in
up, so she
this
turns
one
around.
too. So
The emo kid walks up and doesn't look at James. He's not paying any attention to James. He's actually acting as if James doesn't even exist at this point. The emo kid turns to the girl, Kate. I forgot her name for a second. Says, Kate, I've been wanting to ask this for a while. But since we've become so close in the last couple weeks, which they have
We
never
don't need
spoken
to use
before, but that
anymore?
is beyond the point.
Well,
At this point, that is beyond the point. He's like, I was wondering if
now
you would like
we
to go
need
on a date with me.
signs.
If you would like to start dating. And James is like, oh no, he doesn't know. How does he not know? Because James is like, everybody
Okay,
knows.
so
Everybody told everybody, but I guess everybody
think.
didn't tell the emo kid. Of course they didn't. And Kate at this point is like,
There
oh,
will
well,
also have
I'm very
two other
flattered. And the emo
YouTubers
kid's
that
like,
I
well,
want
if
to
you're
mention,
flattered,
but
then you should say
didn't
yes,
really
correct?
help.
And at this point, she's like, well, you see, it's actually not great timing because I'm actually currently in a relationship. And the emo kid's like, what? How?
Well, let me put
With
my
who?
friends first.
And James is like, oh my god, this is so awkward. He doesn't know. So James has kind of assumed that the emo kid didn't think anything of the fact that James got like the dance with her, which in all reality, the emo kid was kind of the one who had the most common sense in that situation, because just because someone dances with a girl once doesn't mean anything,
I think he
right?
spelled it
But
wrong,
at
but
this
it's
middle school, if you got the slow dance, you were
Autistic
basically in.
Goku.
You were locked in at this
Not
point, is
all.
what I'm trying to say.
It's
So Kate has to go on
supposed to be
awkwardly
Autistic
explain to the emo
Goku,
kid
but
that,
he spelled it
the guy that she's sitting at right
Autistic
now on the lunch
Goku.
date with
So
happens to be the guy that she's
this
dating.
extra
And the
I,
emo kid turns to
like
James,
YB
looks at him, looks him
SMT,
down and up, like does like the
that's
elevator
a
look when he looks at like the
spelling
top of his head, looks all the way
So
down, then looks all the way up. Turns
Autistic
back to
Goku
Kate
and
is like,
friends. That's
really,
basically
dude?
what he
You
got.
decided to date this guy when you could have dated me? He's like, bruh. And he just kind of like
Oh
storms
yeah, we
out.
need honey.
And James looks at Kate and he's like, dude,
where's
how
the
did that
honey?
kid not know that we're dating this point?
Yes.
Like, I swear to God, all your
I
friends
keep
told everybody.
accidentally
Like,
pressing
Kate's like,
something.
dude, my friends didn't tell everyone. And James is like,
Wait,
if you ask anyone at the school, besides the emo kid apparently, they will know. And Kate's like, yeah, okay.
Now
my friends do
let's
talk to them. They're like, well, that was pretty awkward.
Nice
Hopefully
calls.
nothing else
Oh,
happens
wait.
again. You might be thinking at this point, Connor,
So
the emo kid must
this
stop. There's no way he continues on. There's not a
Alexi
chance that he continues,
Real.
right? Well. I got some news for
I
you
think
guys.
that's his name.
He does continue. And it's bad.
This guy who was
Because
supposed
you
to
might be
record
thinking
with
that, oh, well, the emo
me
kid stormed off and he was done. No.
yesterday and the
About
day
20 minutes
before,
later, when
but
there's only like 10 minutes left of lunch,
whatever.
James sees the doors open up again, and he's like, you gotta be kidding me.
Okay,
dude."
now
'Cause the emo
we're gonna
kid
come to
walks
the
through.
point
But this time,
where
he's
people
like stomping towards
who
James
I
super
don't know
angrily.
in real
He
life,
runs
but
up
know
to the
as a
table
YouTuber.
practically, looks
This
at James,
one is the
looks
one
him
that
in
I'm
the eye,
listening
and says,
to right now.
it's not over between us. It is far from over between us. And is like taking his little finger and like pointing at James. And
Oh,
James is
wait.
like, okay, nice. Like I like we do
I
not
think
care.
I
Like
heard
I don't know what else to say at this point. Like okay, cool,
Wait,
nice. Like
Oh, wait.
okay,
oh no.
what do you want me to say? And the emo kid after that is like, you better
I
watch
think this
yourself.
is
It's about to get bad. He
I
like
don't
storms
know.
out of there. And
Wait, I
at
can
this point, James is
definitely.
like, okay, well, I
Oh,
guess that answers my question. So the next day at lunch is where things get really, really, really crazy. So he's sitting there with Kate on his second date. James is enjoying himself.
Wait, I think
He's
I-
having a good time with Kate. They're enjoying each other's
Now
presence.
here's the
They're
two
doing
people
well.
that I already
They're
mentioned
kinda
in
clicking, so
my
things
first
might continue
video,
on, right?
technically.
And that's when the emo kid walks
we
in,
got-
and he's carrying like two sticks, like two pretty
You
good
guys-
sized
I
sticks
don't know
that
if
he
you
probably
can
found
do
in the
any
backyard
help,
of the
but
school.
I
So in the
did.
backyard of the school, there's like a mini forest, nothing too crazy, but there's like a pretty big forest back there. And the emo kid must have gone back there and like found two decent sized sticks. He walks into the cafeteria with one stick in one hand and one stick in the other, and James is just looking at him. And he's like, he kind of says like to Kate, he's like, oh, okay, we got trouble. Kate turns around, looks at it, and it's just like, turns back around and is like, what? And James is like, yeah, I have no idea what's happening, but I guess we're about to see. So the emo kid walks up to the table,
There we go.
like kind of like waddles his way up. And he's like,
These are
you.
the people
and he
that
like
I like
hands
to
the stick
mention.
to James. And James is like,
Well, on
I need a
YouTube.
little
There's
explanation.
another one,
What do you want me to
but
do with this?
it's not one on
super
YouTube, it's
clear.
on TikTok.
The emo
but
kid's like,
whatever.
you and I will have a sword battle, and whoever
I
wins the
forgot
sword
to
battle
say it, right.
will have the will win the honor of
Last
your lady,
time
and we'll.
they-
At this point, like Kate's like, what? And James is like, dude, what are you saying? He's like,
Let me
fight
just tell
me
it
to the
today.
death. The winner gets your girl. And James is like, no. And the emo kid's like,
Oh, it's
so
right.
you're scared of me then? You know that you're gonna lose, and that's why you don't want to do it.
There we go.
And James is like, well, I'm not convinced I'm gonna lose. I mean, I'm not an expert at
Back here,
random
I'm gonna
stick
put even
fighting
more
or
of them,
whatever,
but
at the same time, why
that's
would
probably
I
gonna
want
be
to even
later
engage?
in a
Like, why
different
would I even
video.
want to do it? And the emo kid's like, well, I mean, for the sake of your honor, bro, like, do you really want to be known as the guy who chickened out because he's a chicken? And James is like, well, I mean, I don't really care, but I also don't want to be known as the guy who went on
So
who,
now,
during the dance
let's
last
just make
Friday,
the lobby.
grabbed the DJ's microphone and like stopped the music to like ask out a girl who was very clearly in the middle of dancing with someone else, and then come into school the next day super angry with a bunch of sticks and try and like fight some guy to get the girl that already obviously said no to him twice. At this point, the emo kid's like, so what you're saying is that you're too scared to fight me, and because you know you'll lose. James is like, dude, we're going in circles right now. I'm not fighting you. I'm not having a sword fight to the death. Like, okay, I'm just not doing that. And at this point, the emo kid's like, fine. Well, you're about to see me in my final form, where I am the most powerful. And James is like, okay. Like, word. And then the emo kid reaches up to James and rips out like a strand of his hair. And James is like, dude, like, that hurt. Like, why would you do that? And the emo kid's like, I need that for my wizardly spells.
Let's go
And he
there.
like laughs really awkwardly and like shuffles out of there. And James turns to Kate. He's like, dude, like, what life choice did I make to get myself to this position? Like, what did I do wrong? Like, what choices did I make that got me here? And Kate's like, I don't know, like, this is kind of tough. He's like, yes, why me? Like, why?
We also want to
Like,
put
he
some
just
texture
came
on
up
the
to me
floor.
with a bunch of sticks and says, I want to
Oh
fight
yeah,
you.
should we put texture on these walls though?
And then all of a sudden,
Well,
he just, like,
no,
pulls a piece
because
of
I
hair.
already put that aside,
Like,
so
what?
that's gonna be a pain
huh?
if
Bro?
I do that. So that's probably gonna be the only
just
spot
don't know.
without texture.
I just don't know what to do at this point.
I think.
Kate's like, yeah, I don't know. But, like, I think eventually he'll just get bored of whatever he's doing and give up. So anyways, next day, it is lunch. Lunch once again. And James comes in, and he finds Kate, and he's almost like they sit down, and he's almost like, he's really stiff. He's, like, not talking that much. And Kate's like, are you good? Like, is everything okay? And James is like, dude, it's not you. It's the emo. I just don't know what that kid's gonna do today. Like, I'm not trying to lose any more hair. Like, that really hurt last night. Like, I was starting to bleed from my scalp where he pulled me. Like, that was ridiculous.
It's so cool.
And,
just
you know, Kate's like, yeah, that kid's pretty weird. Like,
something
sorry you
that
got
I
through with that.
enjoy.
And speak of the
Oh,
devil,
no.
dude, because at that point, the emo kid walks in. And at this point, he has a backpack on. And he has a
So
smaller
let's try to
stick.
find
And
something that.
he has a stick in his hand, a smaller one, and a
Okay, this is
like a spirit Halloween wizard
There you
hat
go.
on.
Now let's just cover it
And
all
James
with
is like,
great
you gotta be
and do
kidding me, bro.
textual
Like, you gotta be kidding me.
afterwards.
And at this point, Kate's like, what? She turns around and she's like, oh my God. And the emo kid walks up and he's like, ha ha ha, like, this is where you made your mistake, James. This is where you made your last mistake. And he walks out, and he stands up next to them. He reaches into his backpack or whatever. He takes out a piece of chalk.
Surprisingly,
He takes out
a
plastic
I'm not trying to
bag that
brag
has a
or
hair in
anything,
it,
but
presumably
my voice sounds
James's
so
hair.
squeaky in videos.
And he also has like a
but I'm
candle set and a
actually
lighter. And he sits down
older
on
than
their
my
he like sits down next to them.
friends,
And so they had concrete floors in the
in real life.
room. So next to them, he draws like a pentagram.
I just sound
Puts a bunch of
squeaky.
like candles around like the pentagram.
Some people actually
takes
say
James's
my
hair,
voice is
puts it in the
actually
middle,
very deep
lights all the candles.
in real
At this
life.
point, like, this is taking like 2 minutes to do. Kate and James are just
Well, except for my
sitting
brother,
there
which it
looking
just
at him,
says
completely
I'm squeaky
aghast.
in
Like,
general,
what is,
but
like, just like, what is this kid?
a
What
lot
is
of
this
people
kid
just
on?
say my voice
Like, whatever
is
he's on, dude. Like, maybe get me some of that. Oh my
deep.
god. No, but they were just like, I mean, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to say? So eventually, the emo kid has his whole, I don't know, his magic setup is all done or whatever you want to call it. And he starts lighting all the candles.
I do
He's like,
remember this
James,
time.
this is your last chance. Give me
there
your
had
girlfriend,
this,
and I won't put a spell on you. And
presentation
James is like, dude,
in
what do you mean,
7th
give
grade,
me
and
my girlfriend? Like, it's like a mutual choice to be like girlfriend and boyfriend.
got
Like,
partnered up with
you're acting as if this is like
people
the,
that I
the
know, so that
1600s
was
or
cool. But
something, and
then
like
when
women, like
it was
wife
like a
is the property
recorded
of the
thing, so we
husband,
had to
bro. Like, what are
record
you
something,
talking
and
about?
now
And he's
in
like, one more chance,
the
bro.
mic
I'm about to
of
put a
the
crazy spell on
computer, and
you
then
if you don't give
it
me your
just came
girlfriend.
back
And
out
this is when
very
Kate speaks
freaky,
up
and
and is like,
then
dude,
the two
like,
left.
even if
I
he said
also
that he was gonna give me to you,
chuckled
I'm not
too,
gonna
so
be
I
like,
would
I'm
have
not gonna
to
be your boyfriend. Like, I'm not gonna
go
be your
back
girlfriend, dude.
into
And the emo kid's like,
the
well,
thing we
I'm
saw
gonna
it
put
and
a
then make
spell on
my
you
voice
too, dude,
deeper.
if you don't become my. He literally threatens Kate, and he's like, oh, if you don't become my girlfriend, I'm gonna put a spell on
So
you as
that's
well.
just
Which, okay,
funny.
I might not be the smoothest individual.
Okay,
I
let's
might
just
not
play
be,
random
I don't
things
know,
here.
the one that has the greatest pickup lines of all time. My Tinder one's pretty funny. I did steal it from my friend, but maybe I'll 5,000 likes and I'll reveal it. Because it's pretty funny, but it's also a little embarrassing. But here's one thing I do know. There's a very decent chance that if you threaten to cast a spell on a woman if she doesn't become your girlfriend, she's probably, not 100%, but probably not gonna become your girlfriend. I know I might be going out on a crazy limb right now, and you guys might completely disagree, and maybe you found your wife of 10 years who loves you very much from threatening her with magical spells. I just don't think that's a great way to do it. So eventually the emo kid finishes up, and then he lights the hair in the middle, and then he takes his magic wand, waves it around, and just starts saying a bunch of nonsense. And at this point, half the entire cafeteria has turned, is just like looking. They've almost like circled around it like it was a school fight or something. They've circled around it and they're just like, what the frick, bro? Like, oh my god, like what's going on right now? And eventually the emo kid like points his magic wand at James and is like, ooga booga, or I don't know. He's just saying some nonsense. And like literally 15 seconds of pure silence happened. And then very clearly nothing happens. And he's like, I'm gonna give you one more chance. I'm gonna count to 3. If you don't, you're gonna explode because of my spells. And James is like, I think I'm gonna take the risk. He's like, 3? I'm gonna give you one more chance, bro. Like, I'm gonna give you one more chance. And James is like, nope. I'm gonna take the risk here. 2. And he's like, yeah, nah, I'm good, man. Like, you can go ahead with this. If I explode, I explode. Like, that's tough. 1? Last chance, dude. I'm being super generous right now. Just give me your girlfriend and we'll be all good here. And James is like, nah, I'm chilling, bro. He's like, fine. Kicks it. The emo kid literally kicks over his magic, like, whatever set, because I think he knew it wasn't going to work anyways, which thankfully it was concrete floors and nothing, like, flammable, because, like, the candles fly all over the place or whatever, and he storms out of there. He, like, storms out of there. At this point, James sits back down. He's like, maybe we should go on dates at night when we're not in school. And Kate's like, that's not a bad idea. So the next day, Kate and James actually don't sit together at lunch. They sit separately. Yeah, so they decide that if they're gonna like do anything, at least for a little bit, to do it outside of school, like after school or at lunch or something like that. But the emo kid once again comes up to James, and James is like, oh my god, dude, like what now? And the emo kid, like, he literally goes on one knee and like kind of like presents, he's down on one knee, puts his head down and says like, I concede the battle, you win. Like, I tried everything possible, but you are the better duelist. Like, I honorably concede. And in James's head, he's like, bro, he didn't say this, but he's like, bro, you did not honorably concede. You did the least honorable, you did not concede honorably. But at this point, James sees this as a perfect opportunity for the emo kid to just stop. So he's like, all right, man, like, It was a good battle. It was really close, and you'll get them next time. Like, honestly, James is trying to be as chill as possible so that the emo kid doesn't come back and be like, well, actually, I'm going to try more magic or something. And the emo kid stands up, and he, like, kind of, like, nods his head, and James nods his head back, and the emo kid bows and
I think
leaves.
that's good.
And yeah, after that point, James and Kate actually were able to like do like lunch dates or whatever in school again. The relationship lasted like 6 months. It didn't last crazy long, but Kate and James are still cool to this day. And yeah, the emo kid never. Click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it. How's it going, everyone? I hope you're having a great day, because today I have probably the craziest emo kid story I have ever received
let's see
to
here.
date. I'm not even kidding. So sit back, relax, grab something
Actually,
to
I
eat,
don't know
grab
why
something
I
to drink,
did that.
subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let's just jump right into it. We're calling today's subscriber
God,
Ty.
I know.
So anyways, Ty was going off to camp, and this was his first time
So,
doing an
let's put
overnight
this
camp, so
here.
he was a little bit
Let's
nervous,
play
and it was kind of
shop.
like a wilderness-based overnight camp,
And then
but they were mostly in cabins.
over
Ty's
here.
parents did it before, and they actually met at
Let's
this
put
camp, so they were
updates.
really pushing for Ty to go. But the summer before, he just said that he, wasn't ready and was going to do it the next year. And of course, the next summer rolls around, and Ty's like, "Oh my God, I said that." So sure enough, Ty and his parents ship him off
What
to
two
this
things
camp.
should we put
Ty's a little
here,
bit
though?
nervous about it, but they say, "Hey man, it's going to be good for you. Trust me.
How
Like,
about
I know it's
top
scary,
four?
but you just got to do it." So anyways, they arrived at the campground, and
Actually, I don't know
they
if that
walk
makes
over, Ty and his
sense,
parents walk over
because
to the
this
person
isn't
who was signing
really
everyone
being
in.
an
And it's some
online
some
thing.
25-year-old dude with a big old goofy smile on his face. He's like, "Hey guys, welcome to Camp Awesome." That wasn't actually the name, but we're gonna call it Camp Awesome. Hi there, buddy. What's your name? He's like, Ty Gooden. And he's like, Ty. Let me see. Oh, there you are, buddy. All right, so you're gonna be in Group B over there. And he points to this group of kids and like one counselor or whatever. And Ty turns around to his parents, and his parents are like, "All right, well, we'll see you in 2 weeks." And Ty's like, "Mom, I don't know if I can do this." And Ty and his dad,
Okay,
kind of sits
we
back
gotta
and says,
get back to you
got
guys
this, buddy.
later,
Like, you don't need to worry about it. Like,
till I
trust me,
figure out
2 weeks are gonna fly
what
by.
to
You're
do.
gonna have so much fun. You're black boots.
Okay,
you
I
this
did it.
spiky,
I'm not
like,
gonna show you
bracelet
yet,
necklace type
but
thing. And by the way,
got
if you kind of
shackles
dress
there,
emo, that's totally
top,
chill. I don't really care. As long as you don't act like this kid, you're cool in
updates,
my book. I say this every
and
single time. And
the
this guy
thing
was
that I
kind of just
put
known as the
behind me.
emo kid, and since I don't want to give him a name because I will forget it and then it'll be very awkward. But we're just
Hopefully I
gonna call
don't
him the emo
accidentally
kid from
show
this
you.
point on. And Ty didn't think anything negatively. He was just like, "Oh, this guy really does put a lot into the way he dresses, and he definitely dresses with a lot of character." Ty legitimately had no ill will or feelings of just like, "Ew, this guy's dressing different than me," or anything like that. It was just an observation. And so later on, they go to dinner together as a group, and then afterwards they have like the welcome to camp ritual, whatever. They all sit around a big campfire, and like they're like inaugurated in the class of 2015 or whatever. I don't know. This took place a little while ago. But anyways, right, it's finally time for them to go back to their cabins to figure out which bunks they want, etc., like that. So anyways, right, they get back there, and they're just the counselor dude who is their Group B counselor, right, who's also sleeping in the cabins with them. He's like, "Well, just to make sure that no one feels left out, we've already assigned bunks to everyone." So he said, "All right, Ty, you're in bunk A." He says, "So-and-so, you're in bunk
Okay, no,
B.
it's
So-and-so,
not
you're in
that
bunk
bad.
D." And then in bunk D, which they're kind of like quads of 4, or they're in kind of like groups of 2, but they're bunk beds, so it's 4. So in Ty's group of 4, the 4th one was the emo kid. So the 4 of them walk over. They go in their bunks. The camp counselor says, "Yo, if you really want, you can talk to your bunkie about being top or bottom. Doesn't really matter. Well, doesn't really matter." And so sure enough, Ty and his bunk they didn't really care. Ty was on the bottom. He didn't really care. But anyways, flip over to the emo kid, and the emo kid is like, with this guy. We're gonna call this guy Benjamin. It's a throwaway name, but Benjamin was his bunk, and the Benjamin is like, "Hey, do you mind if I have the top?" And the emo kid is like, "No, I must have the top. I must keep watch at night." And everyone just kind of went silent in that group of 3. They're like, or group of 4. They're kind of like, and Benjamin's like, "All right, man, that's fine. Bomb bunk's cool with me." He's like, "Good. You've made a good choice, because I will watch over us at night."
Good.
I have spoken. And everyone's like, okay, a lot of character in this guy.
About
funny guy.
that
Anyways, things
is a
seem pretty
mod.
normal.
Would that look good?
Pretty normal until, it's time for them to go to bed. So anyways, they go and they brush their teeth and then they get into bed and the camp counselor guy comes around and is like, all right, group B, section A, or whatever you want me to call you guys. Let's call you the A squad. Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun in the next 2 weeks. Just make sure no leaving the camp or no leaving the cabin overnight. Make sure that, you follow any rules that, we ask you to. Be nice and, be nice and fair to everyone and just, have fun. Anyways, good night, guys. He walks out of there. And so, the lights are turned off and Ty in his top bunk, and also Benjamin across from him. They were talking for a little bit, and the emo kid didn't really join in. He was just sitting cross-legged, but kind of sitting very stiffly, so he was very much not going to bed. And eventually they were like, all right, I'm tired, good night. And they all kind of go to sleep at that point. And about 20 minutes later, Ty has not fallen asleep because he's still feeling a little weird. He's in a new environment. It's dark or whatever. He's a little bit scared. He's a young kid, whatever. He hears rustling, right? And that's when he hears steps, right? And he realizes that the steps are coming from across from him, and it's coming from the top bunk across from him, meaning the emo kid, is starting to walk down the bunk. He's like, all right, well, there's nothing too weird with that. And that's when he hears, because there's a door next to their cabin, so there's multiple exits from the cabin. He hears the door open, and he watches as the emo kid walks out. So Ty at this point is like, what? So he kind of gets up, and the person above him is completely asleep. But Benjamin, the kid from the side of him, is still awake, and he's like, yo, Benjamin. He's like, yo, what's up? He said, emo kid. I maybe said his actual name, but
now
let's
he's
like, emo kid, he just walked out the door. Benjamin's like, you can't do that. And, Ty's like, dude, but he did. So anyways, they both get up and they both look out the window, but they're trying to do it stealthily so that they're not caught, right? And they see the emo kid literally just standing there looking into the moon. It is the creepiest, weirdest thing they have ever seen. Because the kid is just literally freaking standing there, bro. He's just standing there observing the night sky. And they're all like, oh my God, dude, that's freaking weird. What is going on right now? And, sure enough, Ty and Benjamin were like, all right, this kid is a little strange. Make sure he doesn't, strangle us to death or something in our sleep. I'm a little freaked out. And that's when the emo kid, out of nowhere, does a 180-degree turn and turns right looking out the window. Ty and Benjamin quickly jump down there, like, oh my God, do you see us? Do you see us? Do you see us? So, Ty starts to look up. He, peeks a little bit into the window and quickly goes down because he sees the emo kid walking towards the window. He's like, dude, Benjamin, he's walking towards the window. He's like, crawl back to your bunks. So they both crawl out of sight of the window and they crawl into their bunks, and it's dark enough in the room for them to do this without being super obvious. And they're both in their bunks, and Ty turns around under the sheets, right? And he peeks out, and the emo kid is literally standing right with his nose up against the window looking in. And he's like, oh my God, this kid's insane. Anyways, emo kid walks back in quietly, goes up the stairs again, and sits in the bed and supposedly goes to sleep. Ty doesn't fall asleep for another hour afterwards, but eventually he opens his eyes to the camp counselor being like, Ty, come on. We're going to be late. And Ty's like, oh my God. And everyone else is like, yeah, you slept in, man. Actually, everyone in this bunk besides emo kid slept in. And that's because everyone was so freaked out that they couldn't go back to sleep. But anyways, first day activities. They go outside, and during the day, they don't totally have to stick with their group. They're actually assigned to random groups. However, a lot of people in the random group will be from their group because they're just trying to make friends within the group. So, and they also go to meals together, so lunch or dinner or whatever is together. And so anyways, the first activity of the day is not with the emo kid. It is actually kayak/canoe or whatever, either or, one of those two. And, Ty has a lot of fun. And they go back to dinner, or lunch, sorry. They go to lunch as a group together. And Ty's, talking about what he was doing, and the counselor kind of went around the table and was like, oh, so Ty, what did you do? And Ty explains, so Benjamin, what did you do? Benjamin explains, oh, so emo kid, what did you do? And he was like, no. I
Yo,
breathed
check
the
that
open
out.
note,
It's in the Minecraft
and they're like,
store.
"Oh, haha, I don't remember that being an activity." Emo kid's like, "It's not. It's necessary." And he's like, "Okay." Anyways, guys, so I'm gonna read off the people in your next activity because the way it worked was at meals.
It doesn't
So
give
at
everything
breakfast,
because
the
I
camp
added more
counselor
mods,
read
but
off
it does
what
give
group
like this
everyone else was in for
textual,
activities, and then at
like
lunch, the
every
camp counselor read
single
off what people would be in for
vanilla,
the afternoon activities. And so the camp
vanilla,
counselor was like, "Oh, so Ty,
vegan
Benjamin,
blocks.
and Emo Kid, you're all gonna be
It just
in
makes
the
them have a different
group 7 or whatever." And that happened to be
textual,
like something with
and
like
also
wood
it
tool
gives
making
like
or something kind of cool like that.
mobs
So
more
anyways, after
action.
lunch, they all head in that
That's why it's
direction.
called
And Ty and
activities
Benjamin are like walking together.
stuff.
However, the Emo Kid, it's not like they were walking away from him, but the Emo Kid intentionally stands like or like walks 10 feet behind them, never breaking the distance. Like they always have 10 feet between them, and the Emo Kid never breaks it. And he kind of walks weird. He walks very stiffly, yet he's kind of like propped forward at a 30-degree angle.
There we
His
go.
arms shoot like straight down, and
Now
he kind of
let's
waddles a
get
little bit like a penguin. But it's very intimidating and very weird. And
this.
Benjamin kind of whispers like, Ben,
I don't know how to
can feel his eyes in the
texturize
back
this,
of my
so
head. Or not Ben, but Ty, I can feel his eyes in the back of my head. Ty's like, dude, Benjamin, I know. So anyways, they get there. And the camp counselor dude is like, "Hey guys, welcome to woodworking. It's gonna be a lot of fun. You can make whatever tools or whatever you want. All I ask is that when you're using this blade, that I'm there and help you guiding it. And also, if you want any, like, I don't know.
now let's get
If you
Lou.
want any inspiration or questions, come to me and it's all cool."
I'm gonna
So
come
anyways,
back to you
Ty and
when
Benjamin
I
sit down,
actually
they're like,
finish
"Oh, let's make like wooden knives or
the
something."
wards.
So they're given a pocket knife and they're of it with like flash.
Okay, done
Takes
with
another
that.
photo, steps back, takes another photo.
Now let's go
and everyone else
in and
pretends to
then
be asleep
actually
as they go
build
back
the
in.
things
Next day
inside
rolls
the shop.
around and they're walking to their first activity from breakfast. And Ty and Benjamin happen to be in the same group. And Ty's like, "Dude, the Emo Kid's insane. Like, that was ridiculous last night." And Benjamin's like, "I've never been more freaked out besides the first night, bro. Like, this kid's insane." And at this point, they start talking about the camping retreat. So I mentioned this like a couple minutes ago when the camp counselor said, you guys don't want to miss the special fun camping retreat we're doing." So they stayed out in cabins, but part of the wilderness camp, whatever, at the very end of it, at the very, like, the last Friday night to Saturday, they hike out kind of farther out into the woods. They bring like camping equipment and they kind of like camp out like that. So they both of like Ty and Benjamin were a little bit worried because that basically meant that they were going by group and they were going to be out in the woods in tents by themselves with the creepy Emo Kid. So anyways, let's just fast forward to that day. It's Friday, and everyone is kind of packing their little bags, and the camp counselor for each group packs their, like,
There we
supply
go.
kit, medical supplies, radio, the food that they're going to be eating, and he's like, "All right, everyone grab, like, groups of 2, grab a tent." And so sure enough, people pair up, and Benjamin and Ty are together, and they grab this tent, and they start walking over to the campsite. And Ty and Benjamin was like, "Dude, I heard that, like, there's only like enough tents so that like we have to pair up with someone." And he said, "I heard that it's random. I heard that we don't get to choose who we pair up with." Ty's like, "Dude, that's insane. We already have friends. I get in the beginning them assigning us stuff, but like we know people now.
we
This is
need
the
to
last day. Like, why would we need to bunk with someone random?"
Real.
And Benjamin's like, "Dude, I don't know if that's true. That's just what I heard." So eventually they get to the campsite. Anyways, so they get to the campsite, right? And, they set up their kind of like, they sit around a bunch of logs. So they like light a little fire and they have like baked beans in a can or something. Then they also go out and they kind of like clear the land to put down the tents. They all set up a bunch of tents in the group of 2 that they carried it over in. And Ty at this point is thinking, all right, we're good because I'm going to be with Benjamin because, we're in groups of 2 already. Why would they need to reassign us groups? And so once again, they were asked back to the campsite, or not the original campsite, but the little campfire they made. It's getting kind of late.
Okay,
and the camp
there we go.
counselor's like, "All right, guys, time for me to assign you your bunk mates or your camp tent mates." And Ty in his head is like, no. So Benjamin and so-and-so. so-and-so and so-and-so.
Now let's
So,
get
when
some
there's like that one
burials.
guy you don't want to be with or something like that, and like you're being assigned in a list, and you don't hear your name, but you also don't hear his name, and the number of combinations starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and you start freaking out. Well, this is what was happening to Ty until he realized that he was doomed before, the words were even said, because the camp counselor went through the entire list, but he didn't say Ty's name or the emo kid's name. And that's when the camp counselor said, Ty and the emo kid. Obviously said his real name, but you know what I mean. And Ty was just like, oh, I'm not gonna make it tonight. I'm not gonna survive. I better write some some letters to my mom saying I love you because I'm not making it tonight. Oh my God. And Benjamin is just staring at him and afterwards walks up to him and says, hey, if you need help, we gotta come up with some kind of signal. So Ty's like, okay, I'm gonna I'm just gonna run out of there and I'm gonna run over to no signals, no nothing. I'm running over to your campsite if anything happens. And Benjamin's like, all right, that's totally fine, man. So anyways, Ty goes up to the emo kid's like, so, looks like we're bunking. And the emo kid is like, interesting. And Ty's like, yeah, man. He's like,
Yep, that's good.
I guess you're one of my more favorite mortals that I know. And Ty's like, yeah. So they both
got the
put
voice
down their
crack.
sleeping bags in this kind of very cramped tent.
All right.
And Ty's just sitting there like, okay. And they have this kind of light, and it's like one of those battery powered lights. And the emo kid's like, good night, Ty, and turns it off. And Ty's like, starts completely freaking out. He's like, okay, I can't see anything, but we're okay. And that's when he hears the emo kid stand up. And Ty's like, no. And the emo kid is standing above him, and he's like, all right, well, maybe I should just accept my destiny. And that's when the emo kid, instead of striking him over there with a rock or something, just leaves. He opens up the camp tent and walks out. And Ty's like, what? So Ty kind of gets up, and he looks out, and he sees the emo kid. And the emo kid is standing, or he's crouching on all fours, and then he starts howling to the full moon. He's like, but it's a really weird howl, and Ty's is like, what? And that's when he hears the the camp counselor who's with us be like, hey, who's that? You're not allowed to be outside your campsite. And you just see the emo kid go, oh, and just sprints towards the tent. So Ty jumps back into his bed. And the emo kid, who's not very coordinated apparently, instead of jumping through the wind, the open flap, jumps right through the tent. So breaks right through the tarp of the tent, cracks the entire thing. The entire thing comes collapsing down. And Ty just has his eyes closed as the entire tent falls on top of it.
There we go.
And that's when you hear all this yelling, and the camp counselor
Shop is done.
what's going on over here? Are you guys all right? And he just
Now time
starts
for
ruffling,
the
rummaging through all the
update.
rubble and stuff. And Ty starts getting up, and he pushes the stuff off of him. The camp counselor was like, was that you out there doing those howling noises? He's like, no. And then sure enough, the emo kid is just standing there and he says to him, you wouldn't understand what I was doing. And the camp counselor was like, I told you before that you can't be leaving your tent during the nighttime. After I said goodbye, you were supposed to go to your tent and not leave it. You were out there. He's like, I was performing a protection ritual. And camp counselor was like, what? I was performing a protection ritual so that everyone would be safe at night from the demons and ghosts of the underworld. Camp counselor's like, what? And at that point, right, they just realized, okay, this is a lost cause. And at this point, the worst thing was that there was nowhere for them to sleep because the camp was completely destroyed, or the tent was completely destroyed. So the camp counselor was like, fine, you two, bring your sleeping bags. You can sleep in my tent. So the three of them are kind of crushed in there. And eventually the camp counselor is like, all right, you two are in here. I'm going to sleep outside. No shenanigans. So
To be honest, I'm not gonna do anything
Ty's entire life, but
in,
eventually the
for
day
the
is
block
over.
of island,
Gets
no
up,
textures,
they
because
start
there's
packing up their stuff,
basically
and they're walking
nothing
back to the
they can
campsite,
figure
and
out
that's
for
when
it.
Ty meets up with Benjamin. Is like, dude, what? You're not gonna believe it. And Benjamin's like, I heard a lot of yelling. Are you okay? So Ty tells him the story. He's like, dude, that's insane. So anyways, They get back, and Ty actually had a really good time at the camp, minus the emo kid, like, cringe fest or whatever. Eventually, Ty's parents come to pick him up, and Ty's mom's like, man, you gotta tell me all about it. Like, how was it? Ty's like, it was really good, but it's quite a story. And so for the entire, like, 2-hour car ride back, Ty tells them the entire story, and let me just say...
Click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it.
How's it going, everyone? I hope you're having a great day, because today we have a story of probably one of the cringiest emo kids on planet Earth. I'm not even kidding. This is probably one of the craziest stories I've received, so sit back, relax, grab something to eat, grab something to drink, and let's call today's subscriber who submitted this story. Let's call him Oliver. So this all happened back in the good old days of, like, 2014, 2015, when, like, goth, emo, all that type of stuff was, like, super popular. And by the way, if you dress goth or emo, I literally don't care. That's a totally fine style. As long as you aren't an emo kid like this kid, you're totally cool in my book. So anyways, right, this all started when Oliver and his friends were in the mall. And this was way back in the day. And Oliver and his friends were just kind of, like, walking around in the mall. They were trying to figure out something to do. I mean, it was a Saturday, so, I mean... Who knows, like, you know, I mean, like, they were trying to figure out something that they wanted to do, and Oliver's friend was like, hey, man, do you mind if we stop at Hot Topic? Hot Topic is a t-shirt store that sells a lot of stores, sells a lot of different types of t-shirts, a lot of, like, trending stuff, a lot of, like, and since, you know, emo and goth was kind of trending at the time, they sold a lot of shirts and attire that really fit with that outfit. Like, you got, like, black t-shirt that says, like, society, and then you got, like, a spiky collar. I don't know, man. But anyways, right, Oliver and his friends stopped in Hot Topic, and Oliver wasn't really, you know, there to, like, buy something, so he was kind of just walking around and chilling, and he accidentally bumps into the emo guy. Or the emo guy. I'm introducing a new guy, emo kid, whatever, we'll call him the emo kid.
Now let's
so
get
anyways,
something
right, this kid
else.
turns around, and he's got this, like, this black t-shirt on. He's got a spiky collar choker type thing. He's got black pants. He's got black shoes on. His hair is black and it's, like, slicked down. So he has these, like, massive, really weird bangs where you can't even see his face. He's like, watch where you're going, punk. And Oliver's like, sorry, man. He's like, wait, I know you, dude. You're from my school. And Oliver's like, yeah, I think we're in class together. No, I've seen you around, though, because Oliver's starting to remember this one time he saw this really weirdo-looking kid who was like, man, no one gets me. And so sure enough, the emo kid, is like,
let's try to find something.
I don't think you bumped into me on purpose. I think you were coming for me and my kind. And Oliver's like, dude, what are you talking about?
Oh,
and the emo kid's like, bro, I think we both know that you just hate the emo kids. And two other emo kids appear out of thin air. And they were like, what's this kid talking about? Like, what's going on over here? And the emo kid's like, yeah, this kid over here goes to my school and he hates me on purpose. And he just bumped into me and it was crazy. You can't do this to us, man. And the other emo kid's like, yeah. Well, what do you have against the emo kids? And at this point, right, Oliver was literally just standing in a Hot Topic t-shirt store because his friend wanted to buy a t-shirt. In Oliver's head, he's like, bro, please hurry up and get that t-shirt. But he says, look, I accidentally bumped into this kid, like, this guy. I'm sorry. It's not on purpose. You can trust me. And the emo kid's like, oh, no, dude, I totally know what, like, a bump on purpose would feel like.
Yeah,
that one felt so purposeful. Like, I literally felt the purpose in the bump. It was crazy. And Oliver's like, dude, what do you mean by that? And the emo kid's like, are you getting aggressive with me, son? Do you want to fight me, son? Oh, he wants to fight me, dude. And at this point, Oliver's like, all right, guys, all right, boys, have a good day. Oliver goes over, finds his friend. He's like, dude, I met a bunch of weirdos. They want to fight me. I literally bumped into them. And, like, Oliver's friend's like, all right, dude, like, that's, like, oh, all right, we'll go. That's fine. And then Oliver's friend sees this, like, pack of, like, emo kids walk over, and Oliver's friend starts cracking up. He's like, bro, you can't seriously think, wait, these kids want to fight you? Dude, they're not going to do anything. They could probably barely walk here without fainting. And the kids are like waddling over. And the emo kid's like, don't think I forgot what you did, man. And so sure enough, right, Oliver and his friend, they buy the t-shirt, they leave. And, Oliver is telling his friends all about what's going down. His friends, like, completely laughing. They
Okay,
find it
let's see
hilarious.
heal. Now
And
let's
that's
get
because
a
Oliver thinks to
slab.
himself, well, I'm never going to see these kids again.
About
It doesn't really matter, right? Oh my God, was Oliver wrong? Because this started one of the most insane sagas that Oliver has ever had in his life. He was telling me that like he's experienced a lot of crazy things, but the story that is to follow what just happened is probably the craziest thing that ever happened to Oliver ever. So skip forward a week. An entire week has passed by. Actually, a little bit more because it's not a weekend. Oliver, it's a Monday morning. He gets up. He's like, oh my God, I gotta go in. So, he gets up, eats breakfast, gets on the bus. It's just like, oh my God, man, is it already Monday? Dude, that's freaking crazy. He gets into school, and he's walking to his locker, all kind of like half awake or whatever. He has his backpack on. But he gets to his locker, and that's when he realizes that something's wrong.
There we go.
Because his locker is like halfway open. And like the
We're not gonna
lockers
put
didn't have
anything
locks
in
on
there
them.
yet
But
because
Oliver
since
always,
this is
closed it
basically,
by the
oh
end of
my
the day.
God,
He'd
the
grab
full
his
thing.
backpack and he would shut it all the
So-
way and it would close. And he noticed it was halfway open, which was weird because no other lockers were halfway open. I mean, some were. but they were
Okay,
very obvious
so
that
I'm
people
going to
just left
pause
them
this
open or
real
whatever.
quick and then
Oliver goes up to
build
his locker.
whatever is
He
there.
opens it very close, like very,
Because I'm gonna
very
surprise you at the end,
slowly.
so.
And that's when he sees.
Alright.
She's talking to Ben. She's
Okay,
like,
I finished it up.
flirting, whatever.
I'm not gonna
right?
show you
Insert
because
flirtatious
the video's
conversation.
not even
And
close.
by the end of the
to done.
conversation, the bell
But now
rings or
we're gonna
whatever,
be
and
doing
Claire
the
leaves to go to
chapters.
either recess, lunch, another
This
class.
is gonna be.
I don't know specifically
Oh,
what,
weak.
but whatever it was, spirits and magic.
Sorry about that. My phone was about
by
to
all
die.
means, like, go ahead and curse yourself.
So
But I'm just
chapters.
letting you know that if you get in between Ben and I becoming boyfriend and girlfriend and soon to be husband
Let's see.
and wife forever,
Let's try to find
you
some
will regret it.
terracotta.
And the emo girl kind of like hunches over and like shuffles away. And Claire was just stunned, to say the least. She was kind of just at a loss for words at this point because it's not every day that, you're walking around and, the emo girl in your class, if you have one, comes up to you and
Which
says
one?
that, yeah, by the way, the gods of magic literally said that, that guy that you're talking to, that he and I are meant to be together and that we are actually boyfriend and girlfriend even though we aren't, so stay away, bro, and then shuffle away. That's just not a day-to-day occurrence. I don't know, but maybe it is, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But sure enough, Claire kind of was like, okay, well, I'm not going to be bullied out of talking to this guy that I like. Like, I'm not going to be bullied out of it, man. Like, that's just not going to happen, you know what I mean? And Claire's like, you know what? I think I'm just going to, keep talking to this guy. I think I just am. So the next day rolls around, and the only class that Claire has with Ben is the class that she has with the emo girl. So it's not like Claire could really talk to Ben a lot in other classes. However, Claire does talk to him every kind of like lunch break. They get lunch together, and the emo girl doesn't eat lunch in the lunchroom, so I don't think she knows, or if she does, she's not trying to see that. Fair enough, I guess. But sure enough, Claire, Ben comes over to Claire because they kind of were talking every single day. I don't think the emo girl's ever spoken to Ben before, but they're about to be boyfriend and girlfriend, guys. Stop hating. No, but so Ben comes over just like every other day, and Claire was a little bit weird, and Ben's like, "Are you good?" And she's like, "Yeah, actually, it's nothing. Sorry, I was just spacing out." In reality, Claire was like, "Okay, this will be interesting," because she notices the emo girl is intensely staring at her, right? Just looking at her so angrily. And as Ben walks over, and when Ben sits down, her brow furrows, and she lifts up her hand and crunches it into a fist of rage, like that Arthur meme where it's like his fist is all balled up. So Claire was distracted by that, obviously, and she was like, "Oh no, I'm just spacing out." So Claire and Ben, they continue to talk, and they flirt a lot as always. Claire's kind of getting a feeling that Ben's gonna try and make a move at some point, kind of soon, just by kind of the natural progression over the last couple weeks. And Claire's all for that, man. I mean, she was kind of trying to put herself out there so that Ben would hopefully come around and ask her out or something. Sure enough, the bell rings again, and Claire is kind of like power walks out of there. She grabs her bag quickly. She's like, aha, Ben, I'll see you in the next one. Because Ben and her go to totally different directions. So it's not like she can walk with Ben. And so Claire is like power walking out of there because she's like, all right, emo girl is coming for me, man. Like, because Claire wasn't looking at the emo girl, but she could just feel it. Like, she had kind of like the raid boss music going on. She's like, oh man, I gotta get out of here, dude. Final boss encroaching, man. Like, I gotta get out of here. So she
Okay, now
grabs her
how
backpack,
would we
quickly like
textualize
puts it on her
this?
shoulder and starts to like not sprint out of the classroom, man. Her teacher would have been like, stop running, stop it, stop. But sure enough, right now, the emo girl was just as fast and just as intent to be talking to Claire. And she comes up to Claire and she's like, you didn't heed my warning. You didn't listen to me. And Claire goes, dude, I don't know you, but it doesn't seem like you and Ben ever talk. I don't think you're going to be boyfriend and girlfriend. You threatening me with your magic powers or whatever is not going to make me stop talking to this guy, dude. Like, can you go away? And the emo girl is like, fine, but just know that I will give you one last warning. And Claire's like, oh boy, kind of rolls her eyes or whatever. And the emo girl's like, if I see you talking with him again, it is on sight. And Claire's like, bro, what? What? Huh? And the emo girl's all like, stop laughing at me. It's not funny. It's serious. I will give you one last chance. And this is your final opportunity to cease your terrible behavior, or you, yes you, Claire, will suffer the consequences. And Claire's just like, oh my god, you can't, you gotta be kidding me, dude. Like, there's no chance. So she's like, okay, thanks for talking to me. Is that all? And the emo girl's like, yes. One last chance. Don't forget it. Don't you forget it. One last chance. And once again, emo girl scuffles off. Little spoiler, Claire does not listen to the emo girl. In the next day in class, the emo girl does something completely crazy. But real quick, comment emo down below if you want to heart in your comment, as that is the secret word of the day, and I will try and heart your comment to say thank you. And also, if you want to support the channel, binge watch videos, or just watch a bunch of videos after this one, or in your free time, when you're drawing, about to go to bed, playing video games, go watch one of the playlists. I got Emo Kid playlist, Spoil Kid playlist, and if you do, comment down below so I can personally say thank you, as it really does help. And also, Profile Pick Army looking strong. So you thought that was it for the craziness from this emo girl, that going up and threatening that the evil gods of spells and magic and wizardry she will suffer the consequences. You thought that was bad? No. Pause, bro. You're not even close to what's about to happen, because the next day it rolls around. Okay, I keep saying that like that's something crazy. Oh no, the next day happens. Time is linear. Wrong. But anyways, right? Next day rolls around. Claire goes into class, and she makes sure that she's talking to Ben, and she makes sure that the emo kid, or the emo girl specifically, is seeing this. And Claire's kind of like a little bit upset because she's like, you know what? This girl is bossing me around. I'm not standing for it. So Claire decides that, she's just going to make a move. Like, she's going to make a move. So anyways, Claire is talking with Ben. And, she sees that the emo girl is at an angle where she can see both of them pretty clearly. And so Claire looks at the emo kid in the emo girl in the eyes. This is a little mean, I'm not going to lie. However, it is kind of justified, since the emo girl was like threatening to pull up or square up, or like it's on sight if you talk to him, or talking crazy or whatever. So this is a little bit justified, not saying it's not mean, but Claire is kind of like, oh, Ben, like, tell me about you or whatever. And what Claire does is she puts her hand on, like, Ben's leg or whatever, kind of like as an indication of, like, I like you. Don't go ahead and do this. Especially, like, you gotta ask people first. Like, you can't go around just putting your hands on people, bro. As the Connor Pugs endorsement, don't do this. But anyways, like, I mean, she already talked it, like, either way, she does it. And Ben reciprocates very nicely back, and Ben kind of like puts his hand, as Allie and Isabella,
there we go.
Like, pretty decent students, bro. Like they got their
Chapel.
work done and they had pretty good grades. However, they felt as if like they didn't really need to be in class to do well. However, this was a
Now,
class that really
let's
did
see
count
here.
attendance. So if they like didn't attend one day or didn't attend for many days, doing well in this class, most of it is like out of
Let's
class.
see
Like
here.
most of the actual grade is like homework and assignments and stuff like that they do out of class. So they're just like, why do we actually have to like show up to class every day? So Allie and Isabella one day were talking to each other, and they were just like, we both are like, they're like, I think like Allie brought it up, and Isabella agreed that attending class didn't really feel necessary, and they kind of felt like it was a waste of time, and also they hadn't seen each other in a little while. At this point, right, everyone was on Zoom, but people could kind of like go out if you were proper. We all lived through it. We all know what it was like. But anyways, right. So they wanted to see each other, but they also were like, okay. Class kind of feels like a waste of time. So Isabella suggests to Allie, like, why don't you just come over to my house tomorrow from like 9 to like 4? And she's like, wait, but don't we have like class at like 10 to 11? And Allie was like, yeah, we do, but we don't really like, the class is pretty useless. How about we show up, mute our mics, mute our computers, and we just hang out the entire time? And Allie at first was a little bit skeptical.
Wait,
She was always
I have a
worried
question.
about like
If it's
something
just
going
10
wrong
and
or
11,
something
you
going
got the
wrong with
whole
Zoom
other
class,
day to
basically just she was worried
hang
about
out.
something going wrong. And in retrospect, Allie was 100% right, but we'll get to that in a second. Anyways, right, so Allie eventually was like,
So
know
there's
what?
like no point
Yeah,
of this.
I kind of been feeling like I've been wasting my time in Zoom class. Like, Isabel, you're right. Tomorrow, I'll come over, I'll bring my computer, we'll both log in, and then we'll just turn off our cameras, turn off our mics, and go about our day, right? And so anyways, right, the next day rolls around, and Allie goes over, and, Allie's mom just doesn't really think much of it. She kind of just lets Allie do what she wants, because, like, Allie's mom had the whole idea of, like, or had the whole parenting concept of, if your kid is doing well, let them do what they want, and if they're not doing well, give them guidance. And Allie's grades were really good, and she never got into trouble, so Allie's mom kind of didn't look into anything Allie did and was like, all right, well, if you're going to make a mistake, well then, yeah, I guess that'll be a learning experience, but as of now, do what you want, really. So yeah, Allie went over to Isabella's house as they lived in the same neighborhood and it wasn't that far of a walk. And she showed up and Isabella's like, all right, are you ready for your day off, basically? And she's like, yeah, this feels a little weird and I'm still a little anxious, but I want to see how it goes. And Isabella's like, Allie, you got nothing to worry about. You got literally nothing to worry about. What could go wrong? First of all, if you ever trying to do something that could get you in trouble and one of your partners in crime says what could go wrong, I would say cut it there, cut your losses there, because whatever is going to go wrong is going to go wrong after your partner in crime says that. That's all I'm saying. So anyways, right, the time eventually comes, the class is about to start. So Allie, goes into another room and logs into the Zoom class, and Isabella goes into her room and logs into the Zoom class. And they're both on their computers, and they greet the professor. They're like, hey, professor, how's it going?
There
And the
we go.
professor's like, Allie, you have a different background. Like, because Allie had been in the same background every single day. And Allie was like, and she's like, oh, it's just a different room in my house. I wanted to change up scenery. The professor thought literally nothing of it, because honestly, that's valid, bro. I changed up scenery every once in a while during Zoom classes. Like, I get that. That's legit. So anyways, right, Allie's like, all right, well, thank you. And then Allie and Isabella both mute their microphones and turn off their cameras. But anyways, right, so they mute their mics, they turn off their cameras, and then they go into the same room together. And, Allie's like, oh, Isabella, did you check to see if your camera and mic are muted? And she's like, yeah, I did. Like, they're good. And Allie rushes over to Isabella's computer and checks, and sure enough, yeah, the mic is muted, the camera's turned off, and Isabella's like, Allie, why are you so spazzing out about this? Like, there's literally no reason. You're good. And Allie's like, I'm fine. I just really don't want to get into trouble. And Isabella's like, relax. We're good. And in fact, they were good. The mics were muted, the cameras were turned off. Most kids in the class were muted with their were muted with their cameras off anyways, so it didn't seem suspicious. And Allie and Isabella had a pretty good day. Like, they went through that class just hanging out, doing stuff. This is gonna sound lame, but I don't know what girls do when they hang out, bro. Like, I know what the guys do, because, I hang out with a lot of guys. And I don't know, whenever I do hang out with girls, it's normally a group activity and we'll do stuff. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to be great at storytelling for that. They engage in girl activities, which is probably, I don't know, solving quadratic equations, mining Bitcoin, playing with their abacus. That's probably that's my best guess at the
Dude,
best guess at the
I
moment,
don't
dude.
think
I have
so.
literally no idea what they do. But anyways, they have a pretty fun day together.
Well,
And
it
eventually,
seems
like
a
when the
little
class ends,
bit
they both go back to their separate rooms. And
something.
they unmute and they're like, oh, thank you so much, like professor, whatever. And they turn off their cameras and they leave. And yeah, so that's and they they come back together. And Isabella's like, so that worked perfectly. And Allie's like, you know what, that went really smoothly. Like, I don't see why we can't do that again. And Isabella's like, oh, the plan is to do it again, Allie. You do realize that this is what we're gonna keep on doing. And Allie's like, at first I was kind of wary about this. Like, I didn't know how I feel, but honestly, like, this kind of feels foolproof. Which, by the way, I said this earlier, if someone in your heist says this is foolproof, nothing could go wrong, or we're invincible, dude, you're in for a lot of trouble. That's all I'm gonna say. Real quick, if you hear this, comment Zoom. I just want to see how many people made it this far into the video, as I do appreciate the watch time. I'll try and heart a bunch of comments too. I'm busy building something right now, big secret coming up. You guys should really like it. Also, it's your lucky day, because I'll leave everyone who leaves a like on the video will actually receive nothing. And if you want 0 seconds of good luck, make sure to join the Discord in the description. Anyways, back to where the story gets interesting. So anyways, right, Allie and Isabella do this for a couple days. They don't just do it for a couple days, they do it for the rest of the week. And, whenever you do something successfully, you probably get a little sloppier. You get a little cocky, right? You
There
don't
we
really
go.
check as hard. You don't really check as closely. And, you guys can probably, by the title, realize that, this didn't go smoothly the entire time, that things didn't go well after a while. But anyways, right, so, this is just probably, I think, around 2 weeks into Allie and Isabella doing this every single day. They've had a lot of fun hanging out together, right? And there are other classes they take. They do not have one class. So whenever there is a class they do actually have to take, they'll actually do it in the room or whatever, because they're hanging out for the whole day and they have separate rooms, so they could actually take classes that they have to take. But this class, they basically meet in almost every single day. This one they don't actually have to do. And Allie and Isabella are starting to realize that there's multiple classes they do that they don't actually have to show up and participate in to get a good grade. Because they're not slacking off, man. They're just kind of maximizing their time, They're trying to get a good grade, but also not, do stuff they don't want to do. There's also
Sorry, I just
a
moved
TV
rooms.
that's like facing across from them. So like you can see the TV when you're on the bed, but also the desk is right across
Okay,
from the
let's
bed.
see here.
So they're sitting on the bed.
So this is
watching
where
the TV,
chapter
and also
1
they're
will
occasionally just,
be.
looking at the Zoom class, which they're muted and their cameras are off. They thought. So right now,
I'm probably
Allie and
gonna make
Isabella are
2
both on Isabella's
videos
bed. They're both kind of like looking on their phones,
today
but also watching
for
a
this,
movie.
so
And yeah, they kind of like occasionally look back at Isabella's desk, which is facing right across from them. They look at the Zoom class or whatever and kind of think nothing of it. And at this point, right, Allie, she's just on her phone looking at Instagram or whatever when she gets a text notification from someone in her class. And she's just kind of like, okay, like, that's weird. And she opens up the text message, and when she reads the text message, her heart just drops. Because the message reads, yo, like, Isabella's camera's not off. Like, I can see you, like, on her couch, like, on your phone. Like, yo, you gotta fix that. And Allie's just, like, doesn't want to seem panicked. Because she doesn't want to, like, make a scene, right? But obviously, it's now apparent to her that Isabella, in her either cockiness/sloppiness, didn't completely turn the camera off correctly. She probably muted the mic correctly, because, that would have, like, given it away much faster, but did not turn off the camera correctly. So right now, the entire class, including the teacher, could see her and Isabella sitting far away on Isabella's bed on their phones, not paying attention. So at this point, Allie, like, leans over to Isabella and is like, hey, like, we got a problem. And Isabella's like, what? And Allie's like, don't freak out, because we don't want to make a scene. And Isabella's like, what? Allie's like, hey, I just got a text message, and I'll just show you what it is. And Allie, like, takes her phone, like, kind of, like, shows it to Isabella, and Isabella's face drops as well. Because, right, they don't want to get caught. These two girls have never gotten in trouble before. They're just farming the system to get good grades and not pay attention, And at this point, right, they're like, shoot. And Allie's like, I don't think the teacher's noticed us yet, because the teacher definitely is the type of teacher to call kids out if they would have done anything like this, right? So Allie's like, I guess the teacher didn't notice. And, Isabella's like, well, the teacher is going to notice when we make a lot of commotion and run up there. Because, the teacher has, a view of all the screens, and unless there's, really... So their theory is, if there's sudden movement, like them running up to, turn off the camera, then he'll notice the sudden movement and call them out. But at the moment, the reason why they were never called out before is, they were just sitting on the bed. As if, attending this class is really making, improving their odds of
I
success.
just was waiting for something.
Allie and Isabella, they're both, pretty decent students, bro. They got their work done, and they had pretty good grades. However, they felt as if, they didn't really need to be in class to do well. However, this was a
We're gonna
class
just
that
do
really
this for
did
now.
attendance. So if they, didn't attend one day, or didn't attend for many days at a time, or just in general didn't really attend, they would probably not get the
Let's do
grades
that
raised
trick.
at all. In
Let's
fact,
do that
this
trick.
Part of, participation
I
wasn't
have a
even really,
trick.
kids raising hands and talking or anything.
Black
It's a little
stained
bit of
glass,
that,
and then
but it
now
was
we
mostly just,
need
you showing
something
up.
else.
So Allie and Isabella kind of thought to themselves, all right, we're doing well in this class. Most of it is, out of class. Most of the actual grade is, homework and assignments and stuff like that they do out of class. So they're just why do we actually have to, show up to class every day? So Allie and Isabella one day were talking to each other, and they were just
Hold up, this is the
we
same
both I think Allie brought it up and Isabella agreed.
Authentication,
ad.
strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of
this
data
is
points a second
really
for threats.
easy to
If your
do.
identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
What makes a great pair of glasses? At Warby Parker, it's all the invisible extras.
It's just
without
two
the extra cost.
blocks.
Their designer
If you
quality
count
frames
Copia's
start
block.
at $95, including prescription lenses, plus scratch-resistant, smudge-resistant, and anti-reflective coatings, and UV protection, and free adjustments for life. To find your next pair of glasses, sunglasses, or contact lenses, or to find the Warby Parker store nearest you, head over to warbyparker.com. That's warbyparker.com. Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. Goldbelly ships Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garden's famous cakes. So, if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT. That's goldbelly.com, promo code GIFT.
IKEA is celebrating 40 years of making home dreams possible in the U.S. Visit us in store September 3rd until the 23rd for limited time offers and experiences like our Ortianda streetwear collection, our new Tilvercod furniture, daily chances to win gift cards, and more. Come celebrate 40 years of meatball-filled shopping, brave attempts at our Swedish names, and the inexplicable need for
There you
stylish
go.
modern design. Offer valid September 3rd through September 23rd, 2025.
Now time to go
US only
down
while
and
supplies last.
boom.
Selection may vary. See store and ikea.us.com for details. Restrictions apply.
When my son was born, I was overwhelmed reading product labels. Then I found a formula that puts me at ease. In a world of overwhelm, lack of sleep, and everyone thinking they know what's best for your baby, Bubs is here to bring calm to your feeding journey. Bubs is made with clean, high-quality milk from Australian farms, and it's easy on your baby's developing tummy. I trust Bubs to feed my growing bub. Feeding your baby should feel like...
What the heck is this ad?
Just Bubs.
What's up, guys?
Well,
Welcome back to a brand new
we're
story.
done.
Today we have a story time of a Minecraft kid who
The
thinks
lobby.
that Minecraft is real. The real world is Minecraft.
Oh, yeah.
But there is no
Said at the
difference
end
at
of the
all.
video.
I know you'll enjoy it, so sit back, relax,
This is an
subscribe if you're
egg.
new, and let's jump right into it. So we're gonna call the subscriber who submitted
It
this
would
story
hatch
Alex. So anyways,
after
Alex had to go
a
babysit his
chapter,
cousin,
and
Alex
then
really didn't want to spend his
there was
weekend
gonna have this
babysitting his
animal
cousin, but at the
that
end of the
I'll
day,
be working
what
on.
choice
Then
did
I'll
Alex
so.
have?
Oh my
And
god!
Alex's
I
mom's
accidentally
like, bro,
broke it.
you're
Oh
gonna
no!
do it. And when your mom tells you to do something, I don't know about you, but you just gotta do it, man. You just gotta do it. Anyway, so Alex heads over to his cousin's house.
So,
it's about like a 20-minute walk from
every
his house because they live in pretty
chapter,
much the same
describe
area.
a new egg.
So it's not that big of a deal. But he gets over there, and Alex's cousin.
After I build
actually, okay, so we're gonna call throughout
this
the rest
chapter,
of this video Minecraft kid equals Alex's cousin. So when I say the Minecraft kid,
This
I'm speaking about
chapter,
Alex's cousin. So anyways, the Minecraft kid's mom gets to the
I
door,
will
Alex,
depend on
she's like,
which
Alex,
animal
thank
will
you
be
so much for
hatched.
coming. Like, I know this is on
And
super
so
short
in the
notice.
next
I'm so sorry
video
about that.
when
There's just
we're
really
gonna be
nothing.
building
Like,
chapter
I
2.
needed someone to come, and I was posting on Facebook, and your mom offered you, look, I will be paying you. And Alex was kind of thinking to himself, oh, word, like, I'm getting paid. Like, this actually isn't the worst deal ever. And yeah, so she's like, I'm so sorry about that. Like, look, I know you haven't seen your cousin in a second because Alex's little cousin, the Minecraft kid, was like 7, and Alex was like 15, so they didn't really have a lot in common. Believe it or not, the 7-year-olds and the 15-year-olds don't really have a lot in
I'll
common.
see you.
I mean, Alex
And
might be like, yo, dude, this
goodbye.